Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm so glad I switched and my camera was going and I don't look MK Ultra because that has happened. It happened last night. How are you doing, Michelle? Welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks, Shane. Thank you, my brother. I'm doing good. I'm floating.
Shift's getting
Floating on my
deep.
back. Shift is getting deep, knee deep. And shift is going down. Holy smokes. Right?
I'm loving it.
Where is reality going?
Yeah.
Spinning off in all directions. I'm seeing so many people and in YouTubers that are, have been focused on the more political landscape or, the more 3D landscape, even though, in the awakening process in that sense, but have seen them now have seen a lot of people coming up to questioning the stories, not in a way we've already questioned the stories of whether or not they're legit. So it's beyond that, but questioning any of the stories, like we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and really their relevance in this process and looking beyond the stories, and that the stories themselves just create more stories. Yeah. So really surrendering the stories and stepping back and asking themselves, what does this mean? And stepping and seeing a lot of people actually sort of stepping away from those stories, and asking what really is their role, the role of stories in all of this. And, I think it's been to guide us on the journey in many ways with words, through this maze, to the light. Hopefully we can find our way there. And I think once we do and our perspective is broadened, the need for the stories seems to disintegrate. And I'm finding that disintegration, a lot of the information that I've channeled in recently that I mentioned on the 22nd to you earlier, a lot of it seems to be this disintegration of stories connected to the disintegration of literally the walls of our reality is kind of what I was shown. And part of this process of a much higher perspective. And I think really stepping into not just the witnessing the witness, like 3 steps up. Kicking up to another viewpoint above that. I'm seeing the evidence of that around with people, whether they're aware of it or not, because the questions they're asking, even from those that thought that they're awake, it's taking them up to another level of awake. Especially when you are hearing these crazy stories that are shifting reality, not on a, yearly basis or a decade but weekly, strange and unusual things, such as the very recent one with the moon now being within the Earth's atmosphere. Information that was put out by a Russian scientist, not NASA, and information that is apparently 2 decades old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just amazing. I'm pulling up the article here on the screen because this is crazy, because you can see the Earth here. You can see, of course they said it's not to scale or whatever, but you can see the Earth, you can see the moon, and then you can see this huge area that's still considered Earth's atmosphere. Isn't that strange?
Well, flat earthers are going to have a heyday with that one. That's gonna that is gonna really get them excited. I'm sure. Uh, but it really is bending the lines of what is, all of these stories. Well, they say this and then they say that and then they say this and then they say that. What is real? What is even real? And even if it's said to be real, well, how real is it in my perspective, my projector, my reality? Am I choosing how real it is? And I think that this lifting away from stories that I've experienced myself and I'm seeing other people experience is this lifting up off of this grid that we've been locked into of perspective. And what it's allowing to come into its place is an awareness, I think, of the quantum possibility of reality. And I think that that is coming in line, in time, and in tandem with our physical body leveling up in essence, in its ability, its technical ability to process and project this information that sets our reality.
Yeah, definitely. Mind blown, right? That shift's deep.
This shift is getting real deep. I've had to break out a second shovel.
I'm going to put that link below so people can check it out if they like to.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm almost feeling I've been doing so I am putting together a video on the Schumann resonance because I've gone back and dug deeper into when did it really start spiking? Like once we got that last big huge blast, right? That was like 24 hours chunk, like
right,
no random number, just 24 hours.
We had a few days like that last year too, because remember
listen, I think we had 90 this morning. But how long has that been happening, right, Shane? How long is it when's can they trace, they said it's 7.83 hertz, but have spikes happen like this occasionally throughout time, just not very often. I know they make a bigger deal, but when did it actually start? Well, only in 2014 did they actually start picking up like 16.5, and they were making a big deal about that.
Yeah.
So we're getting over, just last week, we had over 102 hertz spike. What does that mean to us physically?
Yeah.
Right?
Because we're connected. You remember the Schumann resonance video I did that showed how we're connected. And I do want to bring this up while you're talking about this, because Andrea sent me this article after listening to Aluna Ash and her talking about energies coming in, and there was this article that came out on express.co.uk. This link is in the description below. But solar storm coming this week after huge hole opens on sun. It's a big one. A huge hole has opened on the surface of the sun, leading experts predicting a solar storm they are calling a big one. And you can look more into this if you like, but it's set to hit tomorrow. In late January. So yeah, it's
and
coming.
Space Weather News only classified it as like a minimum level G1 storm. So they didn't seem to give it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get, like Aluna was saying, higher winds, higher storms. Got thunder. The wind here was insane the other day. We got like 90-kilometer-an-hour winds, and there was thunder that hit at one point, which literally shook the whole house. And it was this building thunder where it was really something else. I haven't experienced something like that in a really long time. Thunder that loud. So definitely unusual weather going on. And we had a power outage too for a short time as well. So I know Aluna was talking about that. But I think that, what we can expect to experience even though it seems to be minimized as far as solar wind on some information, I anticipate that what we're going to experience on the ascension level with the energy that is coming in to be a really good wallop. Yes, I would think so.
And we see the blast are continuing too. We had a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what is that, about 12 hours ago, 10 hours ago? And it looks like we're in the middle of the beginnings of another spike in the Schumann as well. This link is below to Mr. MBB333. You just go on here and you can just click Schumann resonance. Let me scoot this over. You can see the edge of it here. You just click that and it will open up the current. Well, I think it's lagged by like 10 or 15 minutes or something, but this comes from the Russian Schumann Observatory or instrument.
There's another one I use too, which actually lists, because that one just shows you the graph. It does, and it only goes to 40 hertz. It doesn't tell you how high, like what the peaks actually were. Mm-hmm. So, which is pretty interesting. And I think that's it on Discover Schumann, okay. Italian site.
Oh, nice. I don't know about that one.
He will consistently post the peaks and let you know what those peaks are, so you can see. So, like the previous week, there was or a week and a half or so ago, there's quite a few days we were peaking at about 67 hertz. Mm-hmm. But we had one, I think it was just within the last few days, that peaked at 102 hertz. But so what I'm really looking into is, well, what does that mean? And to actually translate it so you can generally understand the actual scientific experiments that have been done as far as brainwaves and frequencies go, and what parts of the brain they affect, and what they do, or what states of consciousness they are. And the thing is that what we have tracked out so far scientifically for brainwaves for a human brain only go to gamma, which is 40 plus hertz. What's after gamma? Well, there's talk of lambda, so I'm looking at that, and lambda being connected to Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, this higher level of consciousness. So, because you have brain waves, the bandwidth, you have delta, it goes delta, which is, theta, step up, alpha, beta, gamma, which is what we're getting blasted with. What does it do to your brain? What does it stimulate in your body? Well, there are actually scientific studies done with these frequencies on the body, on the brain, to see what parts of the brain they stimulate and what kind of effects they cause. Now, I know that a lot of people have heard about causes of like anxiety and different things, but I think that those are in general just I think that you can work past that. That's part of resisting and releasing. I think anybody who's gone through the ascension symptom process, and when we do get hit with that, you can feel these anxiety energies coming up, but you can move past that, with practice and with releasing. So what comes after, and what happens at 60 hertz, 80 hertz, 100 hertz, 200 hertz. Of course, we don't have, as many studies on that, but they're interesting questions to ask. Mm-hmm. What I found interesting too is the gamma rays actually scientifically have found studies. I'll get into a lot more detail with my video, but to connect it to a specific ascension symptom is the responses are heightened with high gamma rays in where you visual object processing center, which is a lateral occipital cortex, which is right here, which we talk about all the time, about when this energy comes in, and when we get the headaches, and we get them here. I know a lot of people lately have been feeling energy right at the top of your head as well too, but I know a lot of us may have been experiencing this stimulation in right at the base of the skull on the right hand side, or left, but I know the right hand side specifically. So I wanted to share that because it's a real actual physical connection, scientific studies done with gamma rays of what area of the brain it stimulates. We know that these are gamma frequencies coming in. We're picking them up on the Schumann resonance. We can chart them. And we are feeling the physical reaction. We're feeling the physical discomfort of that. So I really want to do a clear job, in pointing that out. So you can, for those right brain, left brain, in putting the pieces of the puzzle together, see how these spiritual things actually tie up with common sense.
Yeah. Because it's all connected. Science does support it. We just have a hard time making those connections sometimes, because there's a change in terminology or whatever, and you see that between religions and worldviews. Everybody's arguing about the same thing, but everybody's really in agreement because they're using different words to describe the rapture, ascension, human evolution, or transforming or transitioning into this higher level of consciousness. And the shift is on. I mean, that's why I think the word shift is really good, because it really is us shifting, not only on a very outer type external way, but on a very internal way. We're shifting into these higher realms of understanding and being, and just awareness and expansion. Have you done any artwork since last week, or you've been busy with research?
I'm working on something every day. So I've been painting. I've been doing this and that. Yeah, practicing my piano every day.
Nice.
Still, so meditating quite a bit. I really have been affected by these energies. So I am taking one day at a time and addressing that and what I need. I have to say that to share that I did a newer Steve Noble hypnosis session yesterday. And I think it was like his second newest one, with releasing energies. I was blown away by the level of physical stimulation and effect and feeling afterwards, after doing this hypnosis session. So I really want to just suggest it to everyone today.
It's a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Steve Noble. I've mentioned him to you guys before several times. So it was really quite an experience, and I've felt the shift physically since doing that yesterday. So I wanted to share that. I find the timing of the videos that he releases coincide to energy work. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a few. Yeah, isn't this cool? This is the blanket that Irene sent me from Australia.
Nice.
It's really cool.
Beautiful colors.
I can't really, this picture doesn't do it any justice, but you can see all the animals, and this thing is huge. It's beautiful. Wow. But I also wanted to share a little bit of artwork since we're on the topic.
Yes. Yay.
Something I just sort of doodled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I keep getting the eye visually a lot.
And the halo. And,
that's great.
These are little DNA spirals in the flower, and it's,
Yeah, that image was coming up to me, Shane, I have to say, on the 22nd, when I was getting all these visual downloads. Oh, there's the maze. Oh my goodness, Shane. Yeah, that's the maze I was talking about.
Oh, really? So the idea, I guess, when I was kind of doing this was the right brain, and how it's more, the left brain is more analytical and more, left and right and rigid and maze-like, but then the right is more fluid and everything. So that's sort of an idea I came across. Now check this one out. This one is Allison Coe. Share this with me.
Yeah, love the colors.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. She really put a lot of detail into it. It's so beautiful. And you can actually check these out on her Instagram page. If you are on Instagram, let me double check the name of, where is it? Okay, Hypno-Co. Hypno-Co. So Hypno and then Allison Coe, C-O-E, Hypno-Co. At Instagram is her name, and you can check out so much more of her work on there. And so yeah, very beautiful. While I'm sharing my screen, let me I'll close this out here and get to this other one that I wanted to share. Does that look familiar? Okay,
yes.
So I have this dream on, I'm going to take this trip last week 21st, 22nd, the 222 portal. And, you know, I planned on having this trip. And the night, I guess it was the night of the 20th, I have this dream that I have this problem with my tire and that, you know, it's worn down to the threads and stills coming out in a few spots. And so I like get up the next day and I like check my tire. And as you see in this picture right here, this is the inside edge, but over here it had tread. So the outside looked fine. So as I got in, like looked in there, I'm like, well, it's kind of like, it doesn't have much tread on it, but there's no still coming out of it like in my dream, right? So anyway, the tire kind of had a slow leak. So I figured, well, I'll go take care of it anyway. And so I go into the place. I guess I didn't capture any of the still coming out, but there's actually still coming out in a few spots, like right on this line right here. I go into the place, have the guy repair it or whatever, and you know he calls me over, and he's like, "Hey man, come here," and I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "You need to get your tires aligned." I'm like, "Oh really? What's up with that?" And he's like, "Look at this," you know, and he shows me, and I'm looking at it, right, and my jaw drops open, right? I'm like, and he's like, "Oh, it's no big deal, Holmes. You just get it aligned, it'll be fine, you know." And I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like, "You don't understand. I just had a dream last night that my tire looked like this, you know."
Did you tell him? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's because he was wondering why my face was looking like that, you know. And I'm like, just kind of like speechless, you know. And he's like, he goes, he just starts laughing at me when I tell him I had a dream about it the night before. I don't know if he understood or whatever, but. So, yeah, I'm like, I've had symbolic dreams before, but this was like the first time I actually had a real dream. Now, in the dream, something had happened on the road on my trip, right? Something with the tire had happened, and I couldn't really remember details about what had happened. I just remembered something like bad happened. I don't know if it was a wreck or a blowout or something. I didn't have the details. All I had was that picture in my mind of the tire, of the still coming out of it, and then like the next day it like was cause for concern. And then check this out, a used tire is $50. Someone donated $50 that day. I took it as a sign. I'm like, okay, it's a sign, go get the tire fixed.
My God.
I didn't have the money to fix it, so I went in, took that $50, got a tire. And so thank you for supporting me with the $50 because it went right along with my dream. It was this synchronistic event that it was mind-blowing. I mean, I'm still like kind of on this high about the whole thing happening because it was just crazy. How does that happen? You know, how do I have like this precognitive dream, you know, prophetic dream about something happening, and then I was able to avoid it by getting the tire and then seeing that, you know, it was a validation or verification of my dream that it was actually true because it looked just like it looked in the dream, you know. And so anyway, mind-blowing. So pay attention to your dreams. It might not just be a dream. It could be a real hint or warning that you need to take care of something. So,
I completely agree. I think it really is a perfect example, Shane, to show you how our perception of what reality is and our ability to maneuver through it in the easiest ways, how those possibilities are going to be coming up, like how they're going to, in ways that they can be presented to you, you know, that sort of thing will escalate in frequency. You know, you'll get more and more understandings of the quantum possibilities of timelines and choices through other. Hi. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Mom, say hi. Hi, Mom's here.
She gonna do a cameo?
Oh,
hi, Mom.
Oh, here she is.
There she is.
There she is.
Welcome to the program,
we did
Mom.
it.
I can't hear him though.
No, he can't. Here, you gotta take one of those. You gotta take one of those.
Wait, which is my better ear?
Let's mess with her, Shane. Just keep moving your lips and not making any noise.
Welcome to the fence.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just watching you or listening on my own cell phone.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your dream.
Yeah.
Did Michelle tell you I had the same dream about it 3 days earlier?
Yeah, that is, share your side of it. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
for
perfect timing, Mom.
because I didn't bring it up yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 3 days before you had your dream, I had a dream about going to check out. I needed to buy some new tires, and I went and saw a car that had really strange tires. They were shaped really weird, and they were really wide. But the thing about the dream was I zoomed in on the tread. So it was right up to my face, right, zooming in. And it turned out one of the tires had a leak, a slow leak.
Yeah.
My tires are fine, Shane.
You're dreaming about my tires.
Yeah, which tire was it, Mom? Do you remember which tire it was?
The good one was the driver's back tire, but the one with the leak was the front driver's side.
That's the one I had. It was the front.
Oh, really?
Side. Yeah, it was the front driver's side. Yeah.
See, guys, that's
amazing.
just so
I'm
we
getting
can show
chills.
you proof of how bendable reality is.
And then we're all connected. You know, we're all in this field together. We might be separated with space and time and all that good stuff, but we really are all connected.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And
so awesome.
I think it just shows you, even because we can bring that up, right? That hold on a second and bring that story up for everybody else, you know, to see that look at what can happen. And that's how, you know, different things are going to be and change. Oh, that's going to be hard on your back, Mom. Switch the chair.
Poor Mom. Poor Mom.
I'm on a chair. Where are you going to go? You can't even scooch here.
It's okay.
Yeah. Look out, Joey.
We're both trying to sit in. Ow! The dog just goosed me.
Zoe, here you go. Relax, Zoe.
Two women and a dog trying to get in the same chair.
That's okay. Zoe's used to.
But I think it's a sign of the collective consciousness that we're having dreams like that.
Yeah, and then the fact that we're all connected and we're all really part of the same soul family or something. That's why we have this familiar feeling, this comfort, and this love when we get together. And it's awesome, you know. It's I've never felt like this in my life. This is like last year was my favorite year of all, and I have a feeling that this year is going to be even better. I think things are going to continually get better and better as we move forward and we make these connections with one another, you know.
I agree.
Awesome.
I'm nodding.
Thank you so much for sharing your part of the story, because that's wild. It was the front left. It was the front driver's side tire, and it had a slow leak. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for that slow leak, I might have just thought, it was just some odd dream, and I wouldn't have taken care of it. But because it had the slow leak, I was like, I guess I'll go ahead and take care of it. And then the $50 someone sent, so I'm like, it's a sign. So it was all confirmation. And when that guy showed me that, I was like, oh my God, that's so weird, you know?
Yeah, and then you show me, and I go, oh my God, that's so weird. My poor mom, I screamed in the kitchen. I'm like, I did one of those. And she's like, what? Don't make me cry.
I thought somebody died.
It is like that too.
Don't make me cry.
It is. It's very emotional when you see some outside help. You know what I mean? Like that?
Yeah, I just couldn't believe the connection, because, you know, it was like 2 days before that she was going, and I understand what she means and how, I know you do, how vivid, how when you're looking at something and you're looking close up at something in dream like that, the detail that you see and how much it stands out in your mind. So, I mean, boom, you sent me, the first thing I see is the picture of the tire. Right. And I think guaranteed if you took that, that tire was in need of some love. Okay.
Yeah, but it didn't look like that from the outside.
From the outside, but on the inside, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, I think you would have had a problem for sure with that tire. It would have just come apart on you.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think there's a part of you know that could play out, and we're having access to that information. And, you know, I have to wonder if, you know, Mom has that experience to really put another stamp on it, to say, no, you think that's weird, well, let's just add another layer to it to see that the connections aren't just even within your own individual experience. That I think in a way the collective experience is we're able to show that for all of you guys.
Yeah.
It just shows I'm looking out for you, Shane.
I appreciate it. That's awesome.
As
yeah,
Mom would say, don't slip on the ice.
Yeah, next time send me a text or something so I'll know. It'll be another confirmation.
I didn't know it was for you though.
Right. But
maybe I will next week.
Well, if you have another one, you don't know who it is, let me know.
Yeah. We'll be keeping you posted from now on.
Oh, I might send you some EVPs.
Yeah, well, they're just all in CDs, so I don't know if we have the technical equipment to put it. I can't to put it over to send it. We have to figure that out, but because she has them on CDs, EVPs. But
I watched your show Friday night with your guests and their EVPs, and that was pretty good. A lot milder than mine. you might have to have a warning.
Yeah, Mom, I'll tell you, when Mama had me listen for the first time to some of her EVPs, and she said, here, listen to this, and she gives me the headphones. I put the headphones on, right, and I'm listening, and when I heard it, it shocked me so much. I literally threw the headphones off my head. I was like, just
and she goes,
chuck them.
Mom, that's some up shift.
I'm like, what?
But I stopped doing that because it was too demonic.
Yeah.
The place I was doing them, recording these things, and it got too demonic and too much negative energy. So I just backed away from it.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, you don't mess around with these things.
They can follow you home.
Anyways, I'll let you go. Just thought I'd pop
perfect,
in.
Mom.
This is nice meeting you.
Hey, Mom!
I'm really not shorter than her. I'm on my knees.
She's shorter than me.
Lots of love to you.
Okay? Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Perfect timing, Mom. All right. Perfect.
That's awesome.
Da-da-da-da-da. That was my mom.
Yeah, so I'm kind of getting to the point where I don't know if you saw Gosha's last, where she's talking about karma from Cosmic Agency, for anybody who's unaware who I'm talking about. But she's talking about, karma being like the monopoly money of this reality. And then you don't have to play the game. I mean, you can rise above that. It's sort of like you walk up on a group of people playing Monopoly, and they're like, hey, you want to sit in? And you're like, no, I don't. Have your fun.
Yeah.
Play your Monopoly game or whatever. And the more I'm going through this shift, personally on an individual level, the more I'm realizing that, like Jim Self talks about, you don't have to participate. That all of that stuff is external to you, and you don't have to participate in it. You can rise above it. You can observe it. But you don't have to get sucked into it. And that's the same way.
You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to. Yeah. I can't believe you're bringing this topic up because it goes back to a dream that a friend shared with me just a few days ago. Oh, and doing an analysis on that for them. Which is, I have to say, my channeling and my dream analysis is just a whole other level. Mm-hmm. But it brought up exactly that. And seeing the sequences, you don't have to actually participate, and you don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to, because it's like a story. Yeah. And you can plug yourself into it or not plug yourself into it. Mm-hmm. And there's, there doesn't have to be this guilt involved. It's the perception of what is required of us in order to make these shifts. Mm-hmm. It just is. It needs a slight shift in perspective to realize that we don't actually carry that responsibility, or to be plugged in to these stories.
It only has the control we give it, the power that we give it.
And choosing to not plug into a story does not require guilt on your part necessarily. Mm-hmm. It's like it doesn't quite work that way, the way that we think it does. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that you brought that up, because that's definitely something that explored. That was Archer kicking his food bowl. This is what I think of you, mother.
Knock that shift off.
Yeah. You want to see shift? I'll show you shift, Mom. Yeah.
But that was one of the things
Sorry.
when I had the, you know, the guy Anthony was on with his, you know, possessed doll or demonic doll or whatever. From his point of view, he was totally right. It was exactly what he created. I feel like that's his own creation. He's completely right about that.
Yeah.
But like, you don't have to join in with the play. It's like these stories you've been talking about. You know, he's created this story around this doll that's, you know, got these dark energies attached to it or whatever. But, you know, observing it, I don't have to participate in that. I'm outside of his story. Yeah. I can observe it, but I don't have to participate in it. And
you don't have to breathe life into
Harold, it. Yeah. His doll Harold has no control over me. He can't affect me because I'm not playing the game. But it's very real. Because as soon as you say
his doll, yeah, well, it's because as soon as you say that doll has an effect on me,
bam. Or does it have an effect on me? I feel
does
scared.
It have a?
Then you're giving it. You're still feeding it. You're feeding that story. You're plugging into that story, and that's you've been saying this for weeks. You don't have to plug into these stories. You can withdraw from them because a lot of times they just add chaos and madness to your life that doesn't even need to be there. You know. And
you don't need to judge everybody else, the other stories either. And it's not that it's everybody's stories. You know, we don't have to. You know. It really is a detach from the importance of stories and the role they play in molding our individual, even though there's this collective thing going on, our individual experience in this reality. And this is where I think we are now leveling up. If we're looking at March for what is this initiation of Rainbow Wave going to be about, to me, it seems like this is where it's really leveling up for a new level of awake. And realizing you don't have to plug into it. You really can. It's creative manifestation on a whole new level, and understanding the illusion on a whole new level up. You know, it's like we went from here observing and seeing that, and then it's now observing. Yeah. Realizing again, even at that level, we were still playing in the game. We're still
like onion skin, like skins of an onion, and we're working ourselves out of the matrix, so to speak. And then our real only interaction that we have to have with other people is like the wingmakers talk about is the heart virtues. So our interactions with others should be out of, you know, the compassion, forgiveness, understanding, all of the heart virtues that I can't remember all of them right now, but he said, you know, people wonder why there wasn't love. Why isn't love included in there? And it's like, that's like saying, why isn't white light included in the rainbow? Because it's all tied into love.
Because it is white light. Yes.
Yeah.
That, you know what? And that as well as another theme that was discussed too, right along with that one. And is how can you measure, you know, like if you're not enough of something, it's like, how can you even put in a measuring cup what you are? Like you are, it's not a matter of not being, how can you not be enough of what you are?
Yeah.
Right? There's no measuring. You can't even put it in a cup. You are that.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just dealing with our own limitations of what our perceived limitations, I should say, because we're limitless. You know, and it's like that's our challenge here is creating greater and greater awareness that there are no limitations. We can do anything. We're like all powerful, and we just have to step into those roles. But you know, we've got to get rid of the stories and the programming and all the baggage that is designed to keep us held within the control mechanism.
Yeah,
you know, these lower levels
in this net of how things work.
Exactly.
This is the way things work. That reality will only bend so far, and then you have parameters. You have those walls, and that is really a lot of the information that I had coming in was in regards to, you know, what I was really seeing was this template that we're on in this grid, how it's being locked into place, but how converging down with all these frequencies or all these layers, just kind of, now that the lock has been lifted off, all these layers of perception of reality. You know, that's why it's not going somewhere else. It's literally shifting. And how do we shift between our perceived realities in such a way that it actually becomes physically manifest instantly, right? And this is, well, what I saw with the information that I was getting is that it's very much connected to this crystalline DNA cellular level. And I was really reminded of the pictures that T. Taylor has been putting up under the microscope, right? And when you see the, you know, the specks, the crystalline specks, and you look into them, well, they're forming those frequency patterns, those little circles of frequency patterns. So what I saw was this, with releasing of all those stories, opening the perception, activating the technology, as in your actual physical ability to perceive and maneuver differently within the concepts, not just one concept, but within multiple concepts of reality. And how we may actually be physically maneuvering has to do with this crystalline cellular level, has to do with those little frequencies. I saw them in a way that by understanding our frequency and resonance, basically, and being the tuning fork, each cell that we carry, each of these crystalline cells will then emit this frequency. And that is what actually will allow us to bend physical reality, or what would be perceived as bending physical reality. But that is the tuning mechanism, this crystalline cellular frequency structure that we are tuning in, and we basically like tuning a dial. And you know, with each lit up frequency, we can change those patterns. By changing those, our physical form will literally be able to transition through walls, like transition through dimensional realities. So we will be able to construct the construct, if we so choose to stay and do it, but to construct the construct, like we are the ones projecting that frequency. That's how it's emitted. That's how we move around, shift our environment around us, and navigate this and set it up the way that we want. That's how we are technically going to be able to, what would seem like, bend the laws of reality. But that's how we'll be able to maneuver through it. So a lot of the information I got on the 26th was really about all of that and connecting those dots, because I couldn't quite, you know, I understood the term crystalline DNA, but it wasn't fitting in a knowing for me visually. I wasn't quite clicking with it. And being able to perceive it and visualize it. And that's what really clicked into place with me, is even seeing what that would actually look like. And I'm understanding this concept of light beings. Literally, we would be light beings, because if you have all these crystalline emitting these frequencies, they're lighting up with these patterns. So, so it was an amazing experience getting that information.
You know, Saturday night when Eileen did that meditation about bringing in the energies and then projecting them back out, I think that's really, like, you know, for our journeys here, of course, shifting from being a seeker of greater and greater knowledge, shifting the ratio of that to being more of alchemist, where we're receivers of the cosmic energy, and then we transmit the energies back out. And it's like shifting from having to know everything to just being here. I mean, how many times have we heard it with Dolores Cannon's like, no, you just need to be here. And it's like, how does that make sense? How is just being here doing anything? Well, when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're like bringing in these cosmic energies, we're being receivers, and then we're transmitting it out to the world. And that really goes along with what you're talking about with these crystals within us, because that's like, adding to our antenna value, if you will, of our what we can project out there. And I think the more we receive and transmit, the more we're going to see these differences on a very physical 3D level, a very observable level, that we are making these changes, and we'll begin to see the world transform right around us, you know,
and ourselves, and our view of it. And you know, what reality, I think this is it. People question, what does reality mean to you? You know, I think that's a really a good question that's maybe coming up for people now, and a good question to look into. What does that mean to you, reality? You know, and how is that changing with what is going on and what you're noticing and perceiving in the world around you?
Totally. And I think that's why we're seeing this sort of breakdown between the dream world and what we think is our wake time, because isn't it still a dream within a dream, or just different levels of consciousness? And we're just beginning to understand this, I think.
Yeah, and I'm being shown that, because what is escalating is the Inception dreams. You know, like I'm waking within waking, and this is picking up in frequency. So again, it's just drilling into me that this is waking up in a greater sense. And I think at some point, in some way, there will be a waking up experience from this set reality to to another state that maybe I haven't experienced for a while, and that this really is prep for it. And with the frequency of those dreams coming in, and the frequency of I'm seeing other people having them, you know, anybody I think that's been having dreams, I'm hearing that they're having these Inception dreams.
You know, and you just brought back to my mind a dream I had, where it was a dream within a dream, and it was one where I had a cut down my arm right here, and it opened up, like where I could see inside of it, and there was no bone. It was like just a wire mesh of the outer part of my arm on the inside of it, and it was hollow, and there was these little scrolls inside. I know how crazy this sounds, right? These little scrolls, they were about yay long. They were about as big around as a taquito.
That's your Akashic records in your DNA.
I don't know, but I'm like
I think
pulling
that's
these scrolls out of my arm, like what the heck is going on? And then I wake up and I'm looking at my arm, but I didn't really wake up. It was a dream within a dream. I awoke into another dream and was like checking out my arm, wondering like, is it still going to be cut open, and why was it still hurting, and all this stuff, you know, and because it felt like I was cut, you know what I mean? So it wasn't really bad, but it was enough that I checked my arm within the dream, you know. So here we have, you know, and I had one a few weeks back that I shared about waking up, having this, my hair was like I don't know, like I had some abrasions where my hair was gone, and I went and looked in the mirror to see if they were there or whatever, and realized that I hadn't really woke up. I was still within the dream, that, you know. So yeah, these dreams within dreams, it's pretty trippy, you know.
It is, and it's happening more often. So, but I think that what you're describing, I'll tell you, Shane, in the first one there, is I think that you were actually releasing old contracts stored within your DNA, because that's what's coming up to me, that's being released, those old scrolls.
Yeah, that's
and coming
weird,
up.
huh?
So I would do a visualization meditation on your own with that, to follow through with the process of removing those scrolls, and just feed them to the flame, whichever color
I never
you so choose.
I was so tripping out that they were even in my arm to begin with. That
my
arm didn't
I
have
think
a
those are
bone
the
in it,
old
and,
contracts. And I think that's what's lifting with these stories. If this is how things work, this is what you're required to do, this is what you're obligated to, all these different things. And it's literally written into our DNA. Because it's funny, because that very thing came up in the Steve Noble meditation. And it was with crystals, and it was releasing these contracts with scrolls. So that popped right into my head. So I think those are connected. So
wow, I have to check that out for sure.
Yeah. And he was using crystal energy, and he went through all different ones, and I found it extremely powerful, very cleansing. I did feel physical results from having these contracts lifted. So I really think that's part of it, and that was showing it. So yeah, I would say at least even follow through with just the extra little recognizing what that process was, and just completing that process and in releasing those contracts from your DNA. All
That's a
gloves
great
off,
idea.
man. All rules off. All contracts off. All gloves off.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
We're
wish I would have
doing
thrown them
it,
in the
man.
flames in my dream. Let's burn these
But that's
things.
okay. You can. It's done as soon as you create it in here, and
Yeah.
once it's in your mind, once you've gone through the creative process of meditative visualization with it in your mind and in your memory, it's now the same thing. So that's why I say follow. Just follow through with it, and you'll really seal the deal.
So it was more like a dream to show me that they were there, and that I can get rid of them. Then it was sort of. Yeah, and it's symbolic.
Just showing you the process. I think that we're seeing a lot of the information that we're getting in dreams because we're often synchronistically sleeping. I think when energies are coming in and hitting us, and I think that's for a reason. And we're seeing the results of the information that we're getting in those dreams, as far as what is going on, what's being activated, what's being surrendered, what is being released, like. What is it doing to us physically? Is it an activation? Is it? Are we getting? Mom just had her first superpower dream.
Oh wow.
What's getting activated? So there's a lot of different themes that will come up, and you know what? If you guys are getting these dreams, I really want to hear about them right now. They're going to keep building and going into March. So if you have any interesting stories you want to share, or you just want somebody to talk to who doesn't think you're crazy, that would be me.
I do have your email on the screen for people to find me. Yeah,
there is nothing that can surprise me. So
yeah, that's what I love about the Friday Night Love stream, is that people can call in and share their stories with people that want to hear and won't be like, "You're just crazy,"
Yeah, and even understand that. Even if you don't agree on the perception of reality that differs between individuals, it's okay. You can respectfully appreciate somebody else's interpretation of their reality without being triggered or judgmental or any of those things, and just let it be and just listen,
because that's a story. That's a story, as well. To sort of jump into someone's story to say, no, you're wrong, or to be judgmental about whatever they're going through, you're creating an unneeded story. I mean, that's what this channel is all about, Come as you are. You don't have to worry about being judged. We're all on our own journey here, and you're not going to get condemned for your beliefs or your ideas, because ultimately what matters is love and getting along, right? Harmony, unity, things like this.
Yeah. And just being free to share your experience, even though it's different from everybody else's.
So you see somebody out there?
Yeah, they're on the look at them. Can you see the two of them? They're on the lookout, looking out the window. Yeah, so it was definitely an interesting week with a lot of information and really feeling these energies and a lot of evidence for drastic changes starting to happen. And you know what? I just would remind everybody that we can choose to what we're going to breathe life into. And there really quite possibly is no rules at all. I mean, okay, let me restate that, because the no rules thing could come from the Aleister Crowley avenue of do as thou wilt, which is not what I mean. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay. So
well, there is the right hand.
I don't mean
path,
it in that sense. Yeah. But just to be clear.
Well, good thing you probably took care of a few comments that would have been below, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for the disclaimer.
Be clear about that. Yeah, it's more about bending reality. So, and as far as possibilities of reality, that I'm interested in.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, I think one of the poems in the Wingmakers talks about, like a canvas and a beautiful painting being on one side of it, but right on the other side of the canvas is the other painting. And there's just two sides of the coin, basically. You know, so while we feel like, you know, it's just necessary in this reality that we're in to have the duality, because one helps push the other when there's like a, you know, a polarization that happens that causes momentum and causes potential differences, voltage is described, basically. And that pushes us apart. So it's all needed. And from the higher perspective, you can really see how it all works together. Just like a battery has a negative and a positive, you can see how it creates momentum and creates movement and growth and experience by having it there. Although when you're within the battery, you don't like the negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can understand. But I think when we can complete that cycle of understanding that polarity and the meaning of that experiment, I think it is time to lift it, but it's no longer required. You know, and that we can lift above it, that there is another way to be. Right. It is not the only way to experience consciousness.
But it's still there. It's just we're moving out of it. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because you're not required to plug yourself in to, that's part of it. That push and pull, that's all part of the story.
Yeah.
What gets you to turn the next page, and you know, there's the ups and the downs and the push, and that's great. It's part of experience, but that's where we're lifting up another level and saying there's something beyond that. It's not necessarily required anymore.
But I think a lot of people, when they view the shift as changing the battery into all positive, rather than shifting out of it.
Yeah, no battery at all.
Right, to where you might be observing the battery from an outside source, but it's not within your realm anymore. It's something you can look on, like you're watching a play or something. You're not part of it anymore. And I think that's what the shift is, to get out of the battery, not to try to rechange the whole battery into something it's not meant to be, because I don't think that's possible. I think the only way to win the game is to not play it, so to speak. You know what I mean?
In a way, well, I really think that that's where we are right now, is just kind of starting to float above that battery to be able to see it from that perspective. But I do think that the end result has to do with pitching the battery altogether.
Right.
That it's not required for experience. So, and lifting above it. Because in plugging into that battery and being the battery, it's literally that whole matrix things. We've turned ourselves into batteries to be siphoned off, you know, for energy in a way. And that's what got us locked in here in the first place. So, you know, it's about taking those locks off and raising up above it, outside the system. I think that's where that waking up, you know, the waking up beyond this awake, I think that's waking up to the reality that's without that battery. Right. You know, without that polarity necessity. That's what we'll be waking up into, essentially. And it's trying to conceptualize that enough at this point that it won't be too much of a shock to the system when the actual flip over takes place. Because on some level you need to know it or be okay with it. I think. And so we're lifting and spreading that consciousness to a way enough to be able to start to conceptualize this whole process of reality differently. And with getting outside of that maze and opening up those possibilities. So when we wake up and that the next level will be all the quicker, I think, to get our bearings and process everything. Here she is. Here she is. Hello, Zoe. She hasn't made an appearance in a little while. She's happy to be here. She's excited to be here with everybody. She hasn't made an appearance in a little while. Yes. Everybody's missed you, Zoe. They've missed you, I'm sure.
Oh.
Yeah. Nurse Zoe, everybody. Nurse Zoe.
Oh, Zoe.
Zoe. Yeah. I see. Yes. Good. She's like,
you want to go outside? That's funny.
She's like, Mom. Oh, good girl. You
Well, that's
haven't
cool.
popped up to say hello in a little while.
We're actually hitting the top of the hour anyway, so
Perfect.
Actually, the bottom of the hour, top of the hour.
Covered a lot of information today. Oh, Zoe agrees. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, we covered a lot. So you got videos coming out about the
I'm
Schumann
working.
You're going to talk about?
Yeah, I really want to put together because I really kind of had my mind blown when I was going back and looking into the information today, just to get it. Few articles I found I'm going to just read and share and give you guys a better understanding of what the science of brainwaves and the Schumann and the history a bit, so we can understand how long this has been going on. I'm trying to source out peaks so I can see the increase in peaks. That might be a lot more work, but so I can chart out not just 3 days at a time, because it seems these graphs that you get, they're only like 3 chunks of 3 days at a time, you know. I'd like to be able to look at the peaks escalating in intensity on an entire graph from 2014 when they first started shooting up. So, and to be able to track that. So, but I haven't found it yet. I might have to put that together myself. So we'll see. We'll see how much work it's going to be. But I think it's really important for people to have a good understanding of this, because it really helps click into place a higher perspective knowing of what this ascension process means. And it does help. It brings it into reality, into your perceived reality of how it works. You know, that it's not just a spiritual woohoo thing, that there's actually something measured going on that we are seeing the responses of in a multitude of ways.
Definitely. So you'll have that out this week sometime?
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
But you will definitely be back with us next Tuesday, and we'll watch your video. For those who aren't subscribed to Michelle, check her link below in the description and subscribe so you'll be able to watch it. And then we will discuss this more next week when Michelle is back on next Tuesday. And we have a packed week this week. I've got Debbie Hazelton coming on tomorrow.
Awesome.
And then I've got Joyce, who's been doing my biofield tuning. She's coming on Thursday to talk about that. And then, of course, Friday, hopefully we can get set up for Oneness Talk Radio. We're going to be syndicated on Oneness Talk Radio while we are still on YouTube. So we'll get that set up. And then Eileen on Saturday. And so, yeah, we got a packed week. You can go to uotf.net. Just below my video here, there's the web address. And if you have dreams you want to share with Michelle, just below her name, you'll see wolf.art101@gmail.com. And I think that wraps everything up.
It
puts a bow on it for us.
It does, like always. Bring it right back around to the beginning.
Well, lots of love to you guys in the chat. Thanks for being here, and for you
guys
watching later.
Thanks for listening.
And thanks for being here, Michelle.
I love you, brother. Love you, brother. See you guys next week.
Peace.
Yes.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.